He took a struggling, resource-poor island and turned it into one of the world's richest economies in just a single generation. But his methods, let's just say, they wouldn't exactly fly in the modern West. Because imagine this: strict laws against littering, public caning for vandalism, and national campaigns that taught citizens how to behave. Sounds extreme, right? Yet those same policies built one of the safest, most advanced nations on Earth. This is the story of a man who believed progress needed discipline in a nation that proved him right. Today we explore what happens when an American discovers the legacy of Singapore's founding leader, realizes how much his country could learn from it. Chapter 1. The Discovery. I remember the first time I really looked into Singapore's story. One man, Lee Kuan Yew, had done something that still feels almost impossible today. He turned a small, humid island with no natural resources into one of the richest, safest, and most admired countries in the world. The more I read, the more I wondered, why had I never heard about him before? Here was a leader who took his nation from poverty to prosperity, not in centuries, but in decades. A place that once struggled to find clean water now leads the world in innovation, technology, and governance. It wasn't luck. It wasn't foreign aid. It was policy, vision, and a level of discipline that few nations are willing to accept. That's what struck me. Singapore didn't just build skyscrapers. It built a culture, one that demanded excellence, order, and accountability from everyone. Coming from the West, where freedom is often valued above everything else, the Singapore story felt both fascinating and controversial. Could a society really trade a bit of personal freedom for national progress and come out better for it? That question changed how I saw governance, leadership, and what true development actually means. Chapter 2. The Western Lens. As an American, I grew up believing that freedom was the highest measure of progress. But then I looked at Singapore, a country where order, efficiency, and accountability often take priority over personal liberty. And yet it works. You don't see litter on the streets. Trains run on time. Corruption is almost non-existent. Crime is rare. Meanwhile, in many Western cities, we have freedom, but we also have chaos, rising crime rates, political gridlock, and a deep distrust in government institutions. In Singapore, the government doesn't just make policies, it enforces them strictly. There are fines for spitting, bans on chewing gum, and laws that would spark outrage in the US or Europe. But somehow the people accept it because they see results. Their lives are safer, cleaner, and more predictable. And that's when it hit me. Maybe it's not about East versus West. Maybe it's about what people value most: comfort or progress, liberty or results.
Chapter 3. Results versus comfort. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Results don't come from comfort. When I studied Singapore's transformation, that became crystal clear. Progress wasn't handed out, it was enforced. Singapore didn't magically become clean, efficient, and safe. It took rules, real ones. Laws that fined you for spitting, bans that kept public behavior in check, punishments that the modern West would call inhumane. But while other nations debated, Singapore built. The city-state treated discipline like infrastructure, something that needed to be constructed, maintained, and respected. And it worked. Crime rates dropped. Public trust increased. Investors came. The economy took off. In a single generation, Singapore moved from unemployment and slums to skyscrapers and global finance. Meanwhile, much of the world still argues about how much freedom citizens should have before they start fixing what's broken. That's the trade-off few leaders want to talk about. Freedom feels good, but order builds nations. It's not about dictatorship or democracy. It's about results. And Singapore proved that with strong governance, consistent policy, and shared national vision, transformation isn't just possible, it's predictable. Chapter 4. Lessons for America. When I look at Singapore, I see more than skyscrapers and order. I see what happens when leadership actually follows through. It's not just about clean streets or efficient trains. It's about trust. In Singapore, the government keeps its promises. When they say they'll build housing, they build it. When they promise safety, you feel it. That kind of consistency builds confidence, and confidence attracts investment, talent, and growth. Now compare that to the United States. In America, policy often changes with every new election. One party builds, the next tears it down. We debate problems for decades, healthcare, infrastructure, education. But somehow the potholes are still there. The school's still underfunded, and the housing crisis keeps getting worse. Singapore didn't wait for consensus. It built systems that worked. When the leadership saw a problem, they engineered a solution. Sometimes uncomfortable, always effective. They didn't design policies for popularity. They designed them for performance. And here's the part that stings. America has more land, more money, more technology, and more talent, but not more results. Because discipline isn't a resource, it's a culture. Singaporeans understand that national progress isn't just the government's job, it's everyone's responsibility. From how they treat public spaces, to how they educate their kids, to how they expect their leaders to behave. That collective mindset, the idea, that order and accountability are patriotic is what truly separates Singapore from so many other nations. Imagine if America took that same energy, the pride, the unity, the refusal to tolerate mediocrity, and applied it to its own systems.
Chapter 5. Why not every country can be Singapore? Here's the truth no one likes to admit. Not every country can be Singapore. Because Singapore isn't just a nation, it's an ecosystem built on precision, discipline, and geography. Let's start with size. Singapore is small, just 728 square kilometers. That means policies can be tested, refined, and enforced faster than almost anywhere else. If something fails, the feedback loop is instant. But try that in a country with 300 million people and 50 states. The system moves slower, the politics messier, and every reform becomes a war of ideology. Then there's leadership. Singapore was shaped by a generation that believed in nation over self. Leaders like Lee Kuan Yew didn't chase popularity polls. They chased outcomes, and the people tired of chaos gave them the space to do it. That's a rare alignment, a government with vision and citizens with trust. Most nations don't have that luxury anymore. And let's not forget the mindset. Singapore built its identity around survival. No oil, no farmland, no natural wealth, just human capital. That scarcity forced innovation. It forced the country to think globally from day one. Meanwhile, resource-rich nations often fall into what economists call the comfort trap. When there's always something to extract, there's less urgency to innovate. But the biggest reason others can't replicate Singapore? Discipline isn't transferable. You can copy the policies, the tax codes, the housing models, but if the cultural software isn't there, the system crashes. Singapore works because its people understand the social contract. You give up a little comfort for a lot of progress. You respect rules because those rules protect your future. It's a trade most societies aren't ready to make. So yes, every country wants Singapore's success story, but few are willing to live its discipline. At the end of this story, one question still lingers. How much comfort are we willing to trade for real progress? Singapore's rise wasn't luck, it was discipline, focus, and sacrifice. A system where leadership meant responsibility, not rhetoric, where long-term planning mattered more than short-term applause. But that model comes with a price: less freedom to fail, less room for chaos, less tolerance for good enough. And maybe that's what separates those who dream of progress from those who build it. The truth is, every nation has its own version of this choice. Do you build systems that last or systems that please? Do you chase what's easy or what works? Singapore chose the harder road and it paid off. The question now is, will anyone else be brave enough to follow?